Right, so let's get into it. This session is for independent consultants and boutique firm owners, whatever type of consulting you're doing, strategy, HR, IT, leadership, operations, marketing, sales. If you have an established practice, you sell to organizations, you sell expertise to organizations, then you're in the right place. And especially if you feel that the pipeline feels slower than it should. I know a few of you in the audience, like Howard. I mean, you have a very strong pipeline, but thank you for coming anyway. But some of you others feeling these symptoms, your pipeline feels slower than it should. If you're doing outreach, you're doing a lot of it, but it's not converting into real conversations. Senior buyers aren't engaging. If you feel a change in the market where buyers are not engaging like they used to, then this is the right session. And if you also observe, or if buyers or prospects are telling you that clients are taking initiatives in-house using AI, I'm definitely seeing it across not just my own business, but across several other consulting firms and independent consultants that I support. So initiatives are being taken in-house. It's not that crazy right now, but it is happening. And that's the reason I wanted to have this session, because we'll talk a lot about that going forward and what we can do about it. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Faheem Moosa. I am the founder of a company called Consulting Leap, and I'm a former management consultant. I've been in the consulting industry for about 20 years. I worked in corporate consulting as a strategy analyst, and I also started my own firm on strategic planning called Springboarders. I ran that for about 10 years, and during the course of that firm, I've sold and executed over 150 consulting engagements across all types of businesses, nonprofits, government agencies, large companies, small companies, mid-sized companies. So I'm taking all of that experience. I now help independent consultants and boutique firm owners to build a robust and thriving sales pipeline. So I don't have a traditional sales and marketing background, but I learned how to build a pipeline just by being a consultant, just like you. And I know that, for most of us out there, the biggest problem is you're doing delivery and you're expected to build a pipeline, and that, squeezes you, and that challenges you. And that's the problem that I'm trying to solve in the marketplace for consultants. Right. So before we get into the meat of the presentation, I just want to go around the room, just type in the chat. I want to understand from you, and I want to know what folks are going through. So just one sentence would do. Where's your pipeline at right now versus where you expected it to be, and what's not working right now? So either of those questions or both, just one sentence would do. So everyone else also can benefit from knowing what others are going through. And that's one of the reasons I do these sessions as a meeting, as a community, and not do them as a webinar, so folks can kind of see who else is out there, who else they can connect with, and also learn what's going on. So I like to do it like a community session. So go ahead and type in the chat. I will be looking at the chat periodically, but it would be good to understand where you folks are at. Right. Some of the things that I'm seeing, I've already mentioned, right? Like the bit about AI taking work in-house, and some of my other consulting firm clients, larger clients too, they are taking work in-house as well, right? So I see it on both sides. And independent consultants, of course, they're far more nimble. They're using a lot of new technology, especially with there's something new coming out every day. Overloaded. I'm just reading comments. Overloaded, had to shut down calendar and new existing clients to catch up. I just hard launched this year, so I'm building my pipeline. Pipeline is about 50% of ideal, with conversations less than 10%. Getting traction and having conversations, but conversion is slow. Thanks for sharing. So yes, pipeline may be slow for many of you, um, and that may be discouraging. But I want to encourage you, because I speak to a lot of consultants. I speak to both firms and independent consultants, and I've been doing it for a long time. So what I can tell you with a lot of confidence is that consulting is not dead. I mean, dead is a strong word, yes, but there is no slowdown that I'm seeing so far, overall. You can see these numbers on the screen. Yes, I know that these are consolidated numbers, and there's a lot of nuance in consulting, which we'll get to. But overall, I think that the expertise business is robust. It's growing. There are, every time I've noticed that business gets complex and there is a quote unquote, people are having anxiety about getting clients. But as organizations get more complex, I've seen that the opportunities simply increase because people need help. Executives need help, organizations need help. And if you have the right relationships, you're at the right place at the right time, and you have the right offering, then you increase your chances of landing new clients. So overall, given even though there's a lot going on in the industry, there's amazing opportunities for consultants, including independent consultants and boutiques. The number of independent consultants is growing steadily, and I know that a lot of it is driven by layoffs and age and so on. But still, there are a lot of companies now that are open to hiring independent contractors, independent consultants. So that's the reality of the market. People understand that there is a good supply. And even boutique firms, right? A lot of large consulting firms are now reporting that boutiques are taking away some of their business. I have a theory around that, but that is happening too, right? So overall, consulting as an industry as a whole is quite robust, right? It's there are challenges, but it's changing. And here's how I feel it is changing. I have a couple of points here. I want to first talk about, overall consulting formats, right? Not many people I know of, or the ones that I follow, talk about consulting formats. So this got me thinking about, okay, let me dig around a little bit, understand the types of consulting that are practiced, and how all of these new things, especially how AI is affecting the types of service delivery formats, right? So the way I see it, right, this is a list that I came up with. Maybe I'm missing a couple of different types of formats. If that's the case, just type it in the chat. But I see consulting as really broad. It's not just one thing, right? That's one of the issues with this word, is that it means a lot of different things to different people, right? But I see it as advisory and strategy, shaping decisions. And then there's project implementation. A lot of IT consultants are in project implementation. They get paid to go and implement and configure and do stuff and build hands-on. And of course, other types of consulting has project implementation as well. Then you have fractional executives. I think they're all part of consulting too. That also is consulting. They lead part-time, a CFO, COO, other roles. You have workshoppers and trainers, where they go in and facilitate, they train, they do some workshops. And mind you, many types of consulting businesses have two or three service delivery formats. You may have advisory and strategy, and you may have some, you may do some workshops as part of that, right? So these are not like mutually exclusive, but I just want to share my thinking and where I think, these service delivery formats fit and what I believe is happening to them. Then you have IP licensing as well. We have intellectual property, and you kind of license that, methodologies, other people pay to use them. Digital products, these courses, they're all part of consulting. toolkits, etc., that you can sell even while you sleep. Then there's executive coaching, one-on-one engagements to affect behavior change um, among executives and management. There's also peer advisory groups. This is not something that many of you may be aware of. Some of you may be aware of it, but there are companies that put together these peer groups. Like if you're focusing on a specific type of executive, they'll put for example, a group of CFOs together, and they'll facilitate the conversation, and they'll have people learn from each other. That also is part of consulting. It's a format, and it is value in it, and certain executives like that. So that also is part of consulting. One of the things that I've been interested a lot about, in the recent few weeks or months is how are service delivery formats being affected, especially with AI changing so much, right? I mean, when I say changing so much, I'm talking about in business in general, right? It's AI is out there. I think every consultant is trying to understand how that's going to affect business. And whenever things slow down, you kind of think that, okay, is AI eating into my business? Just type in the chat. Let me know if that thought has ever crossed your mind. It definitely has for me and for some other folks that I work with. But you keep wondering how that's going to affect your business and your pipeline, and the more you can do about it and more you can be prepared, the better it's going to be. Because I think that yes, AI is definitely playing a role, although I feel that consulting as an industry is pretty robust. There's a lot of ways you can add value and build your pipeline and stay valuable. But at the same time, you want to watch what this new technology is doing, because some of the service delivery formats are being effective. Let me just quickly look at the chat, because I see some chatter on this question. So clients can ask ChatGPT, Gemini instead of me. I use an AI tool. Yes, so all that is definitely happening, and clients are definitely aware of it. If you target large organizations, there's so much money that's already been spent on AI. Of course, there's it doesn't mean that people are actually using whatever has been built. All the consulting firms have made money over the last couple of years or so, but the tools are there, and eventually there will be some kind of change in those organizations. So people will start using them, and they'll start getting the benefit out of them. So then what happens to the business of expertise? So here's how I'm looking at the situation. Take a few seconds to look at this slide. There's a lot going on here. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, I encourage you to join our community, Consulting Growth Hub. You'll see it in the show notes, and so you'll have the presentation as well. So this pyramid that you see, I've been trying to kind of slot these different service formats, delivery formats into how hard it seems like they will, it is to replace these formats. So at the bottom of the pyramid, I've added digital products and IP licensing, especially if it's not very super specialized IP. Anything that is insight driven, that's information driven, is either getting already replaced or is slowly getting there. I know that the pace of change in such a large industry, which is highly nuanced, is not homogenous. Like there are certain places where you find that digital products are booming, and I get that. I totally get that. But as we're trying to build a business, as we're trying to kind of look at how this technology is affecting our business, I think that it's important to understand and look at where the industry is going, because things are changing fast, and there's no guarantee of whether it'll happen in 6 months or 1 year, but things are definitely changing fast. So this is how I'm thinking about it. What you're looking at is a hypothesis. I wanted to preface that. This is my hypothesis, right? This is what I've been observing and reading and stuff. I also did a summit last year called the Future of Consulting Summit, where I invited many thinkers and leaders and consultants on where they feel the consulting industry is headed as a result of AI and everything. So my thinking is informed also by those conversations as well. So primary and secondary research. So in the middle of the pyramid, I've put workshops and training and project implementation. These are harder to replace. These are expertise led, right? Expertise leads this type of service or these types of service delivery formats, and it's heavily assisted by AI. They're harder to replace, yes, especially if there's judgment involved, a lot of heavy judgment involved in implementation, and especially if you do workshops and training, then if you're pairing that with advisory and you're doing workshops as a result of some of the advisory work, then it's not going away anytime soon. But you have a business that is purely doing some kind of generic training, like going into companies and teaching them Six Sigma, for example, right? That's becoming very table stakes right now and generic. Companies need that, yes, or you're going in and doing some kind of audit or whatever, which is just talking to a room. If you're doing workshops that are highly specialized, where you're doing, especially if it's like in-person workshops that are highly specialized, those are, of course, not going away anytime soon, especially if you're using different types of tools and equipment and so on. But, most of the run-of-the-mill regular workshops where you teach something or you learn something, those are all, run the risk of being challenged by AI. Of course, I don't think they're all just going to disappear, but they're going to be challenged, and I think that consultants are going to feel the squeeze. But where I feel the real opportunity is, and where I feel that experts and expertise-based businesses will always have an advantage, is the top of the pyramid, which I like to see as relationship driven. Now, our business of consulting has always been relationship driven, right? Especially as you go higher and higher the market, mid-sized organizations, larger organizations, even some of the smaller organizations, you need relationships to help build momentum in your business, because hardly any serious consulting engagements get advertised. You don't really know whether or not there's a true need in an organization unless you have some relationships. And consulting engagements, a lot of them are born out of just a conversation, somebody talking to somebody, and then the person recommending, hey, you know what, you should talk to this person, right? To solve that problem. So a lot of engagements happen that way. Of course, there are types of consulting that are budgeted for, like large IT project, large management consulting. There are projects that are budgeted for, but a lot of the stuff are not budgeted for, and they're driven by relationships, and they are driven by true meaningful change. That is another thing that I feel is no pun intended, changing. Just before I get to that, I'll talk about these other formats as well. Executive coaching. Like executive coaching, there's a lot of value in it, because when there's a need for behavior change, coaches are good for that, right? And executive coaching is an established market. People want coaches, not just for boards and management and mid-management, but across the organization. Fractional leadership. People want to have someone come in and lead part of an organization for some time, or some kind of a department. You can't get a machine or AI to do all of these things, right? Even peer advisory groups, there's value in getting people to in a room, and then they're all learning from each other. So those relationship-based types of consulting, these are formats that I feel will not be dying out. Right? As business gets more and more complex, there will be a need for experts to come in and help, especially when things change. So things change fast in the external environment. Any questions so far? I will be taking some questions at the end, and I also wanted to say that these typically these sessions, Consulting Growth Hour, I don't have any kind of pitch in the end or anything like that. It is just for information purposes and just for for the community to learn. But for today's session, for the last 5 minutes, I have a small mini opportunity for those of you who may be interested. So just stick around for that. All right. Any questions so far on service delivery formats, or any experiences you want to quickly share? Just type in the chat. I will be looking at it. So again, just to recap, relationship driven, where engagements where relationship is the driver, are those types of engagements where I feel that there will always be opportunity. I don't think there's tools and technologies that are going to take over, where you want to go in, where you need to go in and read the room, for example, understand various stakeholders, align them together on a specific path. There's and facilitate real change. Those are the types of engagements where true expertise, true consultants are needed. And it's not just about expertise, it's about relationships. And the other thing is that these are the types of engagements where you'll need to have relationship with senior buyers, right? These are typically, and I'm generalizing here a little bit, but if you're not talking to senior leaders, you won't know about these engagements. So if you're focusing right now where you're solving a mid-level problem or mid-level management problem, I would encourage you, consider if it makes sense for your business, right? I don't know your businesses so well, so I don't want to give blanket advice, but if it makes sense for your business, consider looking at or rewiring or reconfiguring your business so that you build relationships with senior level buyers, where you unearth real problems that need real change, because I think that that's where you can build a competitive advantage and a real moat, right? Okay, I'm giving you a lot of information, but I'll tell you, I'll summarize this for you. So here's what the distinction is. The distinction is that AI can replicate expertise. It cannot replicate trust. And I know that folks are waiting in the audience to talk about how to build a pipeline, but I'm leading up to that, right? I'll tell you where my thoughts are. If you're feeling lost right now with respect to your pipeline, this may be part of the reason, because I'm feeling it as well with my clients and with some of the people that I work with, and these are the things that feedbacks that's coming back to me. A lot of organizations are experimenting, but AI can replicate expertise. It cannot replicate trust, right? So if you're in the business of simple insights, which include just providing your expertise, doing some research, doing some analysis, using some frameworks, and your output is some kind of a report, right? Structured knowledge, that is being challenged, right? Folks are coming in, our clients are coming in a little ahead of all of that information, and they just want work done. They want things, to be done and things to change. That's what you want to be thinking about. What AI cannot touch is the relationship that makes the client say yes, right? Those relationships lead to opportunities and potential engagements that nobody knows about, right? The trust that gets you called first when something goes wrong. So my point is that there are two types of engagements that you want to keep thinking about for your consulting business. Engagements that are built on relationships, number one, and then engagements that create change. When I say engagements that are built on relationships, these aren't they aren't just based on deliverables. These are relationships that you can build, and these compound over time. Because when your relationship is strong with a client, or with people in the organization, they're not going to let you go fast, right? That trust is built over time. And engagements that create change. If you're still billing by the hour, for example, right? That is going to be a red flag, right? Because if you're just billing by the hour, you're likely it is just clients are just using you. You're not using you, but the clients are using your services to um, just get some information or get some insights, or do some kind of work that doesn't really move the needle. But engagements that are created on change and created on real outcomes, not just insights, that's what senior buyers want. I've had a lot of conversations with some senior buyers that my consulting clients are targeting and want to talk to. A lot of these folks expect outcomes. They want something real. When I talk about outcomes and change, I'm talking about things like, can you demonstrably increase revenue in some way, or can you reduce our costs? Can you stop our best people from leaving? Can you create some kind of a system for us that solves this problem, where I can see the results, where the results are tangible, and how do we measure these results? Those are the types of offerings that are interesting for clients now, because the insights and the reports and the frameworks, those things can be done on cloud and all of these systems pretty fast, and clients and internal teams are already doing that to get a little ahead. These are the two things that are keeping me up at night: the senior relationships and creating offers of change. So, what are the three hidden gaps? If your pipeline is stalling, I'm going to bet, without knowing any of your business, right, that these are some of the things that you want to consider. Number one, your offer doesn't create real change. Think about it, right? Does your offer create real change? Is it still built around insights and advice and reports? And even if it's some kind of implementation, does that thing that you build for them, does that create real change, right? If it doesn't, then that may be one of the reasons why your offer is not sounding appealing. If you're doing a lot of outreach right now and your offering is based on insights and expertise alone, and it's not real outcomes and change, that could move the needle for an organization, then that may be a red flag. It's not just about the offering. You may not have the right story, right, about why your prospects need you. So when you do outreach, or you have a conversation, or you create some content, that story is not coming through as to why a potential client must hire you, and why you, and why now, right? So do you have that story that is created in order to attract the right people, right? And number three, you're not building enough of the right senior relationships, right? Because as I mentioned, senior relationships are where serious engagements, consulting engagements originate. And those relationships, when you build them consistently and you can nurture those relationships, that's how a pipeline is built, and a serious pipeline for consulting of today, right? So I'm seeing these three things as the three gaps when a pipeline is not being built, right? I mean, there may be some other things as well, but these are the three big ones, and these are the things I'm focusing on as well. And if you look at what these three gaps are saying, it's not like, earth shattering, right? But these are small tweaks that you can make in your business that can help you move the needle forward. right? These are things that you probably would have heard for a long time, but now it's um, the urgency, I believe, is is more because of the pace of change in organizations. So, what I would encourage you to do is think about these things. Think about whether your offering is actually creating a meaningful change in an organization. Think about your story and your messaging and your communication. About um, um, is uh, is your messaging attracting or telling the right story and attracting people and are making people curious? Or are you saying the same old thing that people have been hearing for, like, a couple of years? If it's still relevant, that's fine, right? But if you feel you haven't changed your messaging and the way you communicate and the story you tell the market, then that may be an issue. And finally, consulting is a game played by people who trust each other. Are you making the right relationships? Not just the right relationships. Are you building the right senior relationships? These are things that I would encourage you to consider. So, over the next 90 days, I encourage you to make these 4 moves. Number one, you want to start diagnosing what buyers actually need. This is the right time. If you haven't spoken to buyers, if you haven't spoken to your prospects or your clients in a while about what's changing in their business, then this is the right time to do it, because they will tell you, right, what is needed, what the gaps are, how they're not being served by current consultants and experts and even in-house, and what they need, right? So this is one of the mistakes I see a lot of people making, where they have the opportunity to ask clients these questions, but because consultants work closely with clients, right? So it's not like other types of businesses where you don't see a client, for you don't have an in-person meeting, or you don't have a face-to-face meeting with um, a person that you've sold something to, like maybe a software vendor or something. Those folks don't talk to clients all the time. But as experts and consultants, we have the opportunity of speaking to clients all the time. And we should make the time to probe and really understand what these folks want and what's important to them. So, number one is diagnose. Number two is build an offer closer to the top of the pyramid. If you feel that your offer is more inclined towards insights and just expertise, just plain, um, creating a report or something, although that some of those formats still exist in certain pockets, but if you really want to sharpen your outreach, you want to have an offer that promises change, that shows the buyer or the reader that you have created meaningful change, and here's how you're going to do it for them, right? So you want to tweak your offer closer to that, and closer to the relationship end of that pyramid. Now, I have some tools that I'm going to share with you for free on how you can do these things. So if you want to diagnose what buyers actually need, and if you want to build an offer, I'm going to share this tool. Let me just show you what they look like, and I'll type it in the chat, so the folks who want to do this on your own can do it. So this is a tool called the 500K Consulting Roadmap. So essentially what it is it is all of my thinking on how to create an offer, even before that, how to ask the right questions and diagnose what's going on in a client organization, how to create an offer, how to communicate that offer, and how to create a plan to take that offer to market, right? So for those of you who are interested, I've shared this before in these sessions, but if you don't have this tool yet, go ahead and use it. I've just shared it in the chat, right? So those are this is something, if you feel your pipeline is low, go ahead and use it, and hopefully it helps you. Now, let me just go back to the the presentation. So diagnose what buyers actually need and build an offer closer to the top of the pyramid. Okay, that's two points. And number three is you want to start reading buying signals. And this is something that I feel that many consultants don't do because, we're not trained in sales. We try and blanket reach everyone we know. And how big of a problem that is because today, again, because of AI, right? I get like some 20 messages from people I don't know on a daily basis, right? Just trying to sell me stuff. Like if they're trying to share something, a resource or something which is useful, that's different. But folks that I don't know will send me a link and say, let's get on a call because, AI does that. And you just plug into a few of these tools and AI will send messages to like tens of thousands of people. That's how it is right now. And if you're tempted to do that, I would just discourage you to do it because I haven't. That's not how consulting is bought. Like consulting again is a business that's built by played by people that trust each other, right? So if you're gonna just pray and feel that anybody is gonna be a client, then that's not the most efficient way. What I would encourage you to do is learn how to read buying signals. Okay, buying signals are differ from type of client to type of client. Again, this is a. I'm going to share this tool that my team and I have built. It's called Trigger Radar. What this tool does is it helps you create lists of potential buyers in your market that have given some sort of buying signal. Maybe it is, somebody's hired, an organization has hired a new executive. That is a buying signal, which that means that, somebody's hired somebody new in an organization. That means they've hired them for some initiative, and that person is going to kind of put together their vendor list and they're going to be hiring and so on. That's a good time to start conversations. Another buying signal could be when there's a lot of hiring activity, depending on your type of consulting that you do, right? If there's a lot of hiring activity in a firm and a potential client, then if that fits your type of consulting, then that's the time that you need to start building that relationship, right? So this is again a tool that you can start using. So if you want to do all this on your own, it's definitely possible. And the reason I'm sharing all of this stuff is that the value is not in. I know this is the value is not in the information. But if you want to use the information, that's fine. You can get this information in other places as well. This is of course something that I've built based on my knowledge of the subject, but it's not something that's not available in other places as well. But the value is not in the information. The value is actually getting stuff done. And all my offerings too are based on, all my paid offerings are based on getting some kind of a result and getting some kind of change. So I'll share this as well. So those of you who want to just check it out are free to do so. This is called Trigger Radar. That's my I've shared in the chat. And the final thing that I would suggest you do is build relationships. Now, we've talked about three things, right? Diagnose, build an offer closer to the top of the pyramid, read buying signals, and finally, build relationships deliberately. Again, one of the mistakes I see many people make is because of how busy we are with client engagements and delivery and so on, we stop this practice of building relationships. And we only will start pounding the pavement when our current projects are ramping down. That's the very natural thing to do, but the counterintuitive thing to do is to constantly keep building relationships. Now, I have a guidebook for this as well. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but I've done this. I mean, these are problems that many consultants face. And so I have a comprehensive guidebook on how you can do this. How do you build relationships, especially with senior executives in organizations? It's called the Foolproof Referral System. I'm just going to share it with you. And so take a look at that. You have all of this information. you can go ahead um, and test them out, and see if they help you. So I'm sharing this guide called the Warm Prospecting Guidebook. It's in the chat. Go ahead and take a look at it. So if you want to do all of this stuff on your own, you can definitely try and do it. You have all the information, all the steps. But for those of you who want to take it a step further, I have another brief, very quick opportunity, which I'd like to talk about. And is it okay if I share a little bit? I'll share what I have, and then those of you who are interested can consider. So is it okay if I share for about 5 minutes what my team and I have created?
Please do.
Okay, let me just open it up. So on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of May, I'm hosting something called the Consulting Pipeline Accelerator Bootcamp. It's a 3 hours per day bootcamp. I've hosted many variations of these over the years, and they've all been helpful for consultants. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And what this bootcamp will help you do is exactly this: like clarify your offer, reach senior buyers, leave with a ready to execute plan to accelerate your consulting pipeline. Now, I've given you the tools to do it on your own. So if you feel that you want to do it on your own, you can definitely do it. If you feel you need a little bit more push and a more structured way where I'm guiding you through this, then this is a brief offering. I will share this in the chat as well, but there are 6 deliverables that you'll leave with in these 3 days. We're going to be moving fast. You'll have a clear consulting offering, which is that top of the pyramid. You'll have a defined executive buyer target. You will have new positioning that commands attention based on how the industry is evolving, a structured pipeline system, outreach strategy, and a 90-day plan that you can quickly execute, right? So things that, these tools that I mentioned to you will help you do. We're going to be using these tools and a few others as well. The 500K Consulting Roadmap, Trigger Radar. There's another tool called the IP Builder, where you can create a little bit of, you can productize some of your intellectual property and use them for outreach and so on, and a couple of others. So if you want extra help in doing this, we can do this on 8th, 9th, and 10th of May, and it costs peanuts right now. I mean, it's just $97, and with a code, you have an offer where you type in pipeline, that's the code, and you get $30 off. So essentially, if you're watching this live, it's about $67, right? So you can definitely join if you feel that if you feel you're free on those 3 days. If you're not free on those 3 days and you're just gonna wait for the replay, then I would encourage you not to join. If you want to get some work done, and if you're able to attend on those 3 days, then it may be worthwhile for you. And this is for folks that already have a consulting business. We're not going to be talking about how to start a consulting business. So if you're a beginner, then this may not be the right fit. And I'm going to share all of this, so you'll read all of this about my background and what other participants have said. Like, many people have joined these 3-day boot camps. I've got ex Big 4, Big 3 consultants, McKinsey consultants, folks from BCG, and other alumni of large firms, small firms join and find the bootcamp valuable. So I'm going to share it. If there's any questions in the chat, go ahead and type it. If not, just look at the chat for the link and use the code for $30 off. I mean, the price is $97, but then that itself is low. But then for those of you who really want to take fast action for a limited time, I'm just going to offer another $30 off. So go ahead and sign up if you feel you have a need for this. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to questions on either the workshop or any other questions that you may have for your own pipeline. So either type in the chat or let me know if you want to jump on and ask the question. I'm open to doing that as well. Okay, so thanks, Laurie, for the feedback. Lisa, yeah, absolutely. You're happy about the tools that I shared. It's my pleasure. Go use them. So Jorge says, don't you feel that the customers are looking for a more AI-driven consulting, including the strategy advice consulting? Yes, that's a good question. I've definitely heard that before. But look, when I hear the term strategy consulting, it is not just about strategy. It's not just about giving them the strategy, because oftentimes when you go and do a strategy consulting engagement, and I've done like over 100 of these, so I know it's the biggest challenge there is about aligning the team, because these are all senior executives. They all have different thoughts on where the firm should go. Then sometimes there may be a board involved as well. So the biggest value that a strategy consultant brings is aligning these stakeholders and then getting them to agree on a path towards the process itself of, how we'll take the engagement and how we'll do things, and then, uh, uh, um, uh, make a decision on the direction of the firm, right? It's not just about the strategy, but it's getting these folks to kind of go in a certain direction. And then there may be subtle things that are going on between various people. That too is part of a strategy consultant's skill to uncover, read between the lines, read the room, and all of those things. And of course, a strategy consultant today will use AI for a lot of the research and analysis, and even for a workshop. Of course, AI is going to be used across all of those delivery formats. There's no escaping it, and it's a fantastic tool. But for consultants who simply want to use AI in lieu of a strategy consultant, I don't think that's a good idea. If what you're facing is a firm or an organization, or even two partners that have different views on where the firm should go, in those cases you want an expert who would come in and kind of unravel and untie the knot that that organization is facing. I hope that was a response that answered your question, Jorge. If not, just ask me a follow-up in the chat. Okay, so any more questions? Shahab says, how do you price your retainer and the retainer plus sales incentive if you are helping increase sales? Okay, so great question. So how do you price your retainer is a question you answer once you understand what's at stake, right? So are you doing the right discovery and understanding what is at stake? So let's say if you're doing sales kind of engagement, if you feel that this is a $10 million company, and through your help, you can get them to increase sales by 20%, right? Like perceived value. It's not saying that you're definitely going to do it, but there's the opportunity, right? When you're having the conversation, there's an opportunity to increase sales by 20%, especially if you've done it before. If this is a proven expertise and change that you will be bringing. I mean, if this is a proven offering, you've done this before in another organization, you've increased sales to 20%, then you can have a conversation about the fact that how likely it is that your expertise and your approach will help your current client as well, right? And if you're able to build that perceived value in that conversation, and the client is able to see that a 20% result is possible, then you've created a gap where now the question is, okay, how are you going to get to that 20%? You are the vehicle, right? That your offering is the vehicle. So now if you know that, the potential is $2 million in revenue lift for that year, then you base your retainer on that, right? Base it on 10% of that. What would that be? 200K, right? So that means it's how much of that is 16K per month or whatever, right? That's how I look at retainers. And it's not just about, a revenue number. Any type of consulting, any type of business to business consulting comes down to dollars. If you look at leadership consulting or even culture consulting, if you really break it down as to what the outcome potentially is, and you break it down, you can always come through some kind of a dollar amount. That's the skill of discovery. When you do discovery and you have a needs assessment with a client, you want to understand what the dollar value of the change is and what's at stake. That's when you can have a meaningful pricing discussion, and you'll be able to build perceived value in a conversation, right? So that's how I would look at it, and that's how I'd start thinking about a pricing retainer discussion. And as far as a sales incentive, I mean, that depends on which industry you're in. You can even a typical sales incentive, if you're kind of helping an organization expand revenue or increase revenue. So if you're building incremental revenue, it could be a retainer based on the perceived value plus a little kicker. It could be 3 to 5%, or depending on the amount of what the perceived change is, it could be even up to 10%, right? That I leave it up to you. I don't know exactly what the business is, but it starts from, you could start with the 3%, go up to 10%. And then also I've seen models where the retainer or the incentive is for the first 12 months, right? The first 12 months is a certain percentage. Then the next 12 months, if you're expanding revenue, and that's say for the same client, it could be a little lesser. And then I've seen arrangements for up to 36 months. Those are more generous, yes, but typically for the first 12 months is quite standard. And you want to have an incentive, yes, because then you have skin in the game. You always want to show a client that you have skin in the game, because that builds perceived value and the likelihood of success. It's a good question, Shahab. So Lisa says, I use drawings to align teams, which everyone loves, but because I make things, I struggle to not sell strategy, not deliverables. Okay. So Lisa says, I'm joining the 3-day. You can get a replay. Yes, you definitely can get a replay, but you know what? Honestly, unless you're super, I mean, when I get replays, I just don't have the time I don't make the time. So the value of this kind of thing is to be there, do it, because then in that weekend, you're just going to get the work done, and then it's done, and you don't have to think about it again. Then you have a plan and you're going to execute. But if you have a replay, you'll watch it, you won't watch it, you'll put it off. There are other things that, life happens. So you're welcome to take the replay, but then the real value, if you can make time for the live, there's nothing like it. So Rad says, is this webinar information including the techniques, upcoming paid trainings, and tips intended for specific consulting fields such as business strategy, or is it more general? If you're selling expertise to organizations, any kind of expertise, could be IT, it could be HR, it could be operations, sales consulting. I've worked with sales consultants as well. What type of consulting do you do? Just put it in the chat and I'll tell you if it's, you've answered that question. I'm a consultant in the pharmaceutical industry, offering quality compliance. Okay, yeah, you do GXP, GMP, all of those things. So I've worked with consulting, pharma consultants before. Yeah, it definitely will be valuable. Regulatory affairs, yes. So for regulatory affairs, yes, I've worked with those types of consultants before, who sell all of these services to pharma. Reaching out, I mean, for those types of consulting, the only difference is that when you create content, certain types of content you got to be careful about because they're all regulated, and but then when you're building relationships, it's all the same thing. The same techniques that I'm going to teach you will be valuable for that type of consulting as well. Lisa says, how would you price or value team alignment? Or would you need to tie that to faster decisions, less turnover, etc.? So yes, so you're getting there. Team alignment. So the question I would ask is, what does team alignment get you, right? What does an aligned team um, create, right? What kinds of outcomes? Let's brainstorm here. So an aligned team, if you're doing, let's say, sales, can it increase sales? If you're doing, let's say, if it's a kind of, if it's a brand, if you're launching a brand, does it launch the brand faster? Does it create more curiosity among people where they sign up for your offering? What kind of tangible outcomes can you think of? And from those outcomes, then you can see, okay, what are these outcomes actually worth? What's happening right now, and what are those outcomes worth, right? So that's a process that it's a skill that you'll need to learn. In fact, last Friday, I shared a post on my LinkedIn. If you're not connected on LinkedIn, just go and connect. In any case, you'll see my post. I shared this post on this book called Selling Value by this gentleman called Mark Stiving. He's a pricing expert. So in that book, Selling Value, he talks about how you can take any type of consulting or any service, that's not consulting focus, but any service, and create something called a value table where you break down each outcome of whatever you're selling. It could be something, not related to sales. It could be leadership. It could be culture consulting. It could be anything, where you break it down and then you figure out what a dollar value of that would be. So if you're selling team alignment, for example, it'll help you direct you to the right questions and create a value table where you can assign a value to that. So it's a really interesting exercise. I would encourage you to go and get that book. I mean, I have nothing to do with Mark Stiving. He's been on my podcast a couple of times, but precisely only because I've invited him, because I've read the book, right? So I'm not, I'm not an affiliate or anything of Mark, but I always promote his book because it has really helped me. So go ahead and check that out. Again, it's called Setting Value. All right, so let me just see if there are any more questions. Stop at the hour. I'll just take one more. All right, so I think I've answered all questions. Thank you so much. If there's anything you need, I'll be sending you an email about the session again, or the boot camp. And if you have any questions, just reach out and I'm happy to answer them. Okay, bye for now. I'll see you either at the boot camp or I'll see you at the next session of Consulting Growth Hour. All right, bye.